I need to tell you something. What I'm about to share with you, it's not just a story. It's what happened to me. And honestly, it changed everything. I mean everything. My entire understanding of reality, of what lies beyond, it all got ripped apart that night. And it happened in a place many of you might have heard of, a place that's often called America's Most Haunted House. If you're into true horror, the kind that slowly crawls under your skin and stays there, then you're in the right place. Stick around because this one still keeps me up at night. And if you like what you hear, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. Okay, so my name's Sarah Sam Smith, and about a year and a half ago, I was, a pretty typical 20-something. Worked a decent job, liked to travel, and I had this, I guess you could call it a fascination with the paranormal. Not in a, tinfoil hat kind of way, but more like, prove it to me kind of way. I'd watched all the ghost hunting shows, read the books, but I always felt like, nah, it's just camera tricks, or people getting spooked by old houses. So when I decided to take a road trip down the California coast, San Diego was a definite stop. And naturally, the Whaley House was on my list. For those who don't know, it's this old, beautiful, but also incredibly infamous house in Old Town, San Diego. Built in the mid-1800s by Thomas Whaley, it's got this ridiculously dark history. Like a dude was hung on the property before the house was even built. Then the Whaleys themselves, they had their share of tragedies. A daughter dying in the house. A son dying young. There were even a couple of suicides reported there over the years. It was just a magnet for misfortune, I'd heard all the legends, the ghost of Yankee Jim Robinson, the guy who was hanged, still wandering the grounds. Mrs. Whaley's spirit sometimes smelled of lavender. Even a little girl who supposedly plays in the back. I was skeptical but excited. And I managed to pull some strings, knowing someone who knew someone, and I actually got permission to spend the night there, alone. Just me, my camera, and, whatever else was lurking. I figured it would be an interesting story for my travel blog. Maybe a cool video. Boy, was I wrong. So it was a Tuesday night. I got there just as the last tour group was leaving. The staff, they were friendly enough, but there was this underlying tension in their eyes, like they knew something I didn't. They gave me the key, showed me how to disable the alarm, and then they were gone. The heavy wooden door creaked shut behind them, and suddenly it was just silent and dark. Really, really dark. The first hour or so was fine. I set up my camera in the living room, did a quick walkthrough, talking to myself, narrating for the vlog, trying to be all brave and cool. I even tried to call out to any spirits, the usual ghost hunter stuff. Is anyone here? Make a noise if you're present. Nothing. Just the hum of the old house settling, the distant sounds of traffic from outside. I actually started to feel a little silly. Maybe all those stories were just, stories. But then, it was maybe around 10 p.m. I was sitting in the parlor going through some notes and I heard it. A faint, almost imperceptible whisper. It sounded like it came from the dining room just next door. Now, I told myself, it's just the house, Alex. Old pipes, wind. But it was so distinct. It sounded like a woman's voice. Very, very soft. I paused, held my breath. Nothing. So I shrugged it off, tried to convince myself it was just my imagination playing tricks on me in the quiet. A little while later, I was in the master bedroom trying to get a feel for the energy, whatever that means. I had my audio recorder running, and as I stood there, I felt a distinct cold spot. Not like a draft from a window. The windows were all shut tight. It was a pocket of air, intensely cold, right by my left arm. It lasted for a few seconds, then dissipated. I shivered, honestly, more from the surprise than the cold itself. Okay, so that was a little weird. But still, I could rationalize it, right? Maybe an old house, temperature fluctuations, Then the smell hit me. This really strong, overwhelming scent of cigar smoke. And I mean strong. Like someone was standing right next to me, puffing away. Now, I know the history of the house, and Thomas Whaley was known to enjoy cigars. But there was no cigar. No one else was there. I even went around, sniffing like a bloodhound, trying to find a source, but it was just there, hanging in the air, then slowly fading. My heart started to beat a little faster. This wasn't just a draft, this wasn't just my imagination, something was happening. That's when things started to really ramp up. I was back in the parlor trying to review the audio I'd recorded. I had my headphones on, listening intently. And suddenly, clear as day, I heard a child's giggle. It wasn't on my recording, no. It came from inside the house, from upstairs. A little girl, innocent, playful, like she was running around. I froze. My blood went cold. There was no child in that house. I was the only living soul there. I ripped off my headphones and just listened. Silence. A terrifying, oppressive silence. I called out, my voice a little shaky. "Hello? Is anyone there?" No answer. I walked slowly to the staircase, peering up into the darkness. Nothing. But I swear, I could feel a presence. A light, airy presence, like a child's spirit. I told myself, "Alex, you're letting your imagination run wild. You're scaring yourself." But I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't alone anymore. Then the lights. Flickering. Not like a bad bulb, but like a quick, erratic pulse. On, off in the dining room, then the parlor, then the master bedroom. Like someone was playing with the switches, except I was the only one in the house, and I wasn't touching a thing. I started to feel this real, palpable sense of dread building in my stomach. This wasn't just interesting anymore. This was frightening. I decided to try and document it. I grabbed my camera and started recording everything. As I walked through the house, I noticed a small porcelain doll on a shelf in one of the bedrooms. It hadn't been there earlier, I was sure of it. Or maybe it had, and I just missed it. But then, as I watched, one of its eyes, the left one, slowly, deliberately, blinked. Just once. A slow, unsettling blink. My breath caught in my throat. I didn't even realize I'd stopped breathing until my lungs burned. I stared at it, willing it to do it again, but it just sat there, its vacant gaze fixed on me. I backed away slowly, my mind screaming. This wasn't a draft, this wasn't old pipes, this was undeniable. Something was here, and it wasn't friendly. It was probably around 2 a.m. when the true horror began. I was holed up in the kitchen, feeling a strange sense of safety there for some reason. I was reviewing my footage, trying to process what I was seeing, what I was experiencing. My hands were shaking so much I could barely hold the camera. Suddenly, a loud, guttural scream ripped through the house. It wasn't human. Not exactly. It was raw, filled with pain and absolute terror, like an animal being tortured, but with a distinctly human edge to it. It sounded like it came from upstairs, from the front of the house near where Yankee Jim was said to have been hanged. I dropped the camera. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it would burst out of my chest. I wanted to run, to bolt out the door, but my feet felt rooted to the floor. The scream faded, replaced by this awful, heavy silence. A silence that felt pregnant with malevolence. Then I heard footsteps. Slow, deliberate, heavy footsteps. They were coming down the main staircase. Thump, thump, thump. Each step resonated through the old house, vibrating through the floorboards, through my very bones. I could hear the creak of the old wood under immense weight. And they were getting closer. I squeezed my eyes shut, clutching my hands over my ears, trying to block it out, trying to make it stop. But it wouldn't. The footsteps reached the bottom of the stairs, and then they started moving towards the kitchen. Thump, thump, getting closer and closer. I could feel the temperature in the kitchen plummet. It was an unnatural cold, the kind that makes your teeth ache. I opened my eyes slowly, just a sliver, and through the small gap in the kitchen doorway, I saw it. A shadow. a towering, impossibly tall, amorphous shadow. It filled the doorway, blocking out what little moonlight was coming through the windows. It was dark, a deeper black than any shadow I'd ever seen, and it seemed to ripple, like smoke, but with a dense, solid presence. I couldn't make out any features, no eyes, no mouth, but I felt its gaze on me. It radiated pure, unadulterated malice. The air grew thick, heavy, suffocating. It felt like it was pressing down on me, trying to crush me. And then I heard the voice. Not with my ears, not exactly. It was in my head, a deep, resonant rumble that vibrated through my skull, shaking me to my core. It wasn't in English or any language I recognized, but the meaning was clear. It was a scream of pure, unending agony, a primal roar of suffering, and it was demanding something. It was demanding me. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't move. I felt like I was being pulled, slowly, inexorably, towards that terrifying shadow. The cold was unbearable, the pressure immense. I closed my eyes again, tears streaming down my face. I just wanted it to end. I wanted to disappear. I don't know how long I was there, frozen in terror. Minutes? Hours? The next thing I remember, the sun was streaming through the kitchen window, bright and warm. The cold was gone. The shadow was gone. The screams were gone. I was huddled on the floor, trembling uncontrollably, my entire body aching. I scrambled to my feet, my legs wobbly, and stumbled out of the house. I didn't bother to lock the door, didn't care about my camera or equipment. I just ran. Ran until I was out of Old Town, until I was among people, until I felt like I could finally breathe. I never went back for my stuff. I didn't care. I called the Whaley House staff later that morning, mumbled something about a family emergency, and having to leave quickly. They sounded understanding, too understanding almost, like they knew. For weeks after, I couldn't sleep. Every creak in my own apartment, every shadow made my heart race. I had nightmares, vivid, horrifying nightmares of that black shadow, of that voice in my head. I lost weight. I couldn't focus at work. I felt constantly on edge, constantly watched. I'm still not okay. Not really. I can't look at old houses the same way. I can't dismiss paranormal claims as easily as I used to, because I lived it. I experienced something that defies all logic, all reason, and it fundamentally changed me. I used to be a skeptic. Now I know there are things out there, things we can't explain, things that are ancient and malevolent, lurking just beyond our perception. And sometimes late at night when the house is quiet, I still hear it, that faint childlike giggle, and I wonder, was it just a residual haunting? Or did something follow me home from the Whaley House? Because every now and then I still get that sudden, inexplicable chill, and I know with a terrifying certainty that it's not just the draft from an open window. So that's my story, my night at the Whaley House. It was the most terrifying experience of my life, and honestly, I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. If you've ever been to the Whaley House, or if you have your own chilling paranormal encounters, I'd love to hear about them in the comments below. Thank you so much for listening. This isn't easy for me to talk about, but I felt like I had to share it. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. We've got new episodes coming tomorrow at 7 p.m., and trust me, you won't want to miss them. Sleep tight if you can.